At the beginning of the movie, we see a frightened woman with her daughter. She sings softly to distract the child as a fight breaks out outside between her husband and another man, who are soldiers. The girl whispers to her mother that she's scared and says, "Dad is no longer with us, Mom." The woman reassures her, saying that her father will return and defeat the bad man. Outside, the fight intensifies. The man tells the girl's father Hiroshima and Nagasaki may have been reduced to ashes. But that doesn't mean Japan has lost. Anyone who bows to the Allies is a traitor. He then kills the girl's father. Meanwhile, inside, the woman gives her daughter a talisman, saying it will protect her. Her own mother had once given it to her. She ties it around the girl's neck and tells her, "Ring the bell whenever you miss me. And remember, I will always love you." Just then, the man enters the room where the mother and daughter are hiding. He accuses them, saying, "Your husband ordered his men to bow to the enemy. All of you are traitors." The woman warns him, "You can kill me, but don't touch my daughter." But the man snatches the talisman from the girl's neck, rings it, and says, "This talisman can't save you now." He then kills both the mother and the daughter.
Like, comment, subscribe to Recapss Horror.
The story then shifts to the present day, where we are introduced to Sarah. She goes to her college, where her teacher is explaining that regardless of religion, belief, or ritual, people around the world share a similar perception regarding the existence of supernatural beings. She mentions that the Japanese are not particularly religious, yet they have a strong belief in supernatural creatures. Sarah asks, "So what do you think about their existence?" Her teacher replies that she is discussing the phenomenon from an academic perspective, not trying to prove whether such beings exist. Just then, Aldo interrupts, saying, "They do exist," and Sarah looks at him strangely. Later, Sarah calls her friend Nita to say she will stop by the cafe after visiting her father. At that moment, Aldo comments, "People nowadays don't want to look old-fashioned for believing in them." Sarah ignores him and leaves. She then arrives at her father's house. He is in a wheelchair. She feeds him and notices her mother's dress still hanging there. Her father says, "It's been too long, Sarah. Stop blaming yourself." That night, we are introduced to Nita, who works at a cafe and is Sarah's best friend. Nita notices a guy who has been staring at Sarah for quite a while. The guy is none other than Aldo. Nita returns to work, leaving Sarah alone. When Sarah looks back, Aldo is still staring at her, but after a moment, when she looks again, he is gone. Outside the cafe, Aldo approaches Sarah. She scolds him, asking if he is following her. Aldo asks Sarah if she has ever heard of Yomi no Kuni, the belief of the Japanese. Sarah understands that he is referring to the door to Yomi no Kuni, the gateway to the land of the dead. He tells her he has found a place where such things are real. Someone told him about it, and he went there. He gives her a photograph, stating that he met his dead sister there, and that they even spoke. He tells Sarah he knows she has lost someone too. He can see it in her eyes. After that, he leaves. Just then, Nita arrives, and they head home together. That night, Sarah searches online for the place Aldo mentioned. After a while, she closes her laptop and goes to sleep. She looks at her mother's photo, and we see a flashback. Young Sarah sitting with her wealthy school friends as they discuss vacations and new phones. Sarah feels left out because her mother isn't rich. She sees her mother cleaning tables in the same place where they are sitting. Her friends plan to go to the mall, and while they are leaving, Sarah, sitting in their car, sees her mother riding a scooter for a delivery. A little ahead, she hears the sound of an accident, and it's her mother. The crowd gathered around her mother appears faceless and slowly moves towards Sarah. She jolts awake and finds faceless figures surrounding her. She struggles to escape and falls off the bed, realizing it was just a dream and morning has already arrived. Later, she tells Nita about the place Aldo mentioned. She explains that Aldo is her classmate and that he claimed to have met his sister's spirit there. Nita asks if she is still holding on to all this, reminding her that they have already visited many strange places in hopes that Sarah could meet her mother, but none of them turned out to be real. She says that perhaps Sarah's mother is happy in heaven and wants her to let go and let her rest in peace. When Nita notices Sarah getting upset, she agrees to go with her, but says this will be the last time. They then travel to the place Aldo told them about. It is a hotel named Hotel Sakura. When they arrive and enter, they find no one inside. They ring the reception bell, but no one comes. Just then, Sarah notices a woman walking at a distance. She goes to check, and when Nita asks what happened, Sarah tells her she saw a woman. Nita says she is probably another guest. They return to the reception, and when no one shows up, they decide to wait. Suddenly, a man appears at the counter. Nita wonders where he came from. He introduces himself as Indarto and welcomes them to Hotel Sakura. He asks how long they plan to stay, and Sarah says 3 nights. Nita asks why they don't have the key to room number 8 and what the reason is, but he ignores her question and calls a helper named Fikr instead. Sarah asks if the hotel doesn't have many guests. He replies that they are the only guests. She mentions the woman she saw earlier, but before she can finish, the helper arrives. He escorts them to their room, number 5. On the way, Sarah feels a presence behind her, but no one is there. As she walks further, the woman appears again. Once they enter the room, the helper Fikr hands them the key and leaves. Nita begins exploring the room and finds a broomstick inside the wardrobe. Sarah explains that in Javanese mythology, people use such broomsticks to repel evil spirits, and Nita makes fun of it. Sarah then places her mother's photo on the bedside table and goes to wash her face. In the mirror, a woman appears sitting in the bathtub, calling Sarah's name. Sarah looks back, and the woman is still there, until Sarah focuses properly and realizes she has vanished. She sees the woman again in the mirror's reflection, but when she turns around, no one is there. When she steps out of the washroom, Nita surprises her with a small cake. It's Sarah's birthday. When Nita tells her to make a wish, Sarah wishes she could see her mother. Nita wishes that Sarah's wish comes true. After Sarah blows out the candles, Nita asks her to close her eyes and gifts her a bracelet with a small bell. Sarah hugs her, and later that night, she looks at her mother's photo and says she wants to see her, hoping this is the place where they can meet. As she goes to bed, a woman is seen near her, calling her name. Sarah wakes up, sensing a presence. The next day, while they are having breakfast, Nita notices that Sarah isn't wearing the bracelet. Sarah says she will wear it later. The scene cuts to Fikr cleaning their room when he notices the bracelet Nita gifted to Sarah. As he picks it up, both Sarah and Nita enter the room, and Fikr quickly leaves, wearing a strange expression. Sarah follows him to the kitchen, where he asks what she wants from him. She tells him someone informed her that this is not an ordinary hotel. He says the hotel used to be peaceful until people like her started coming. She asks him about Aldo and whether he remembers him. Fikr replies that not many people visit this place, so he remembers them all. She asks which room Aldo stayed in. He says, Aldo stayed in room 8. Sarah tells him the hotel doesn't have a room number 8. She asks if she can see it because it's very important for her. Meanwhile, Nita is removing her blackheads when she suddenly sees a little girl walking behind her. But when she turns around, no one is there. Again, she experiences the same thing. The third time, the girl appears again, calling out Mom, and a frightened Nita rushes out of the room. Sarah tells her to quietly follow her. Fikr opens room number 8, and Sarah and Nita look around. They ask about the photos on the wall. Fikr tells them the pictures show Captain Kaida Yatsuichi, his wife Setsuko, and their daughter Ayano, the same family we saw in the beginning. He explains that long ago, this hotel was once a residence for Japanese military officers. Sarah asks if Aldo stayed in this room and whether she can stay here too. Fikr says, Aldo didn't actually stay here. He managed to get a duplicate key for the room, and Fikr threw him out. When Sarah asks why this room is not available for rent, he says the room has a special history. When Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombarded by the Allies, Japan's emperor ordered his soldiers to surrender. Some soldiers refused to bow down and even killed their own comrades who surrendered to the Allies, labeling them as traitors. Each one of Captain Kaida's men, including his wife and daughter, was brutally massacred. Setsuko and Ayano were butchered right in this room. Just then, Indarto arrives angrily and orders all of them to leave. The scene cuts to Sarah sitting with her mother's photo when the lights suddenly go out. Nita, in the washroom, asks if the power is gone, and Sarah says yes. She then hears footsteps. Using her phone's flashlight, she checks the room as the sound continues. Suddenly, she spots a woman standing in the corner. Terrified, she grabs the broomstick from the wardrobe and tries to shoo the ghost away. The woman appears again, this time behind her. Meanwhile, Nita hears a little girl calling her mom, and the girl appears right in front of her. Panicked, Nita comes out of the washroom, where Sarah is already trembling in fear. Just then, the lights come back on, and Indarto enters, apologizing for the outage. Later, Nita suggests they go back home, but Sarah refuses. She insists Aldo was right. This place is the door to Yomi no Kuni, the gateway to the land of the dead. Nita says that if this is what Sarah truly wants, they can't afford to be afraid. The scene cuts to Fikar serving food to Sarah and warns her not to wear the bracelet she is wearing. When Sarah asks why, he tells her she must leave as soon as possible. Before he can say more, Indarto arrives and calls him away. After he leaves, Nita joins Sarah. Sarah tells her she wants to sleep in room 8. Nita refuses, but Sarah insists Aldo saw his sister's spirit there, so she might be able to see her mother. Suddenly, a loud thunderclap strikes. The bracelet's bell jingles. The lights begin flickering, and we hear Setsuko's ghost calling out to her daughter Ayano. Sarah and Nita rush upstairs into their room. The flickering stops, and Nita spots the little girl's ghost outside the window. Ignoring it, she shuts the window and quickly lies down on the bed. Sarah is also lying there holding her mother's photo, but shortly after, as Setsuko's voice echoes throughout the hotel and the lights begin to flicker, her ghost emerges from room 8, calling for her daughter as she moves forward, then suddenly appears right in front of the camera. Sarah suddenly finds herself in a strange place where her school friends are calling her name, and she appears frightened. Meanwhile, Nita notices Sarah is no longer on the bed. She grabs a flashlight from her bag, and upon hearing a sound, she sees the little girl's spirit jumping on the bed. She then appears right in front of her. Nita quickly grabs the broomstick, but the ghost appears perched on top of the wardrobe. Startled, Nita falls to the floor. Elsewhere, Sarah sees her mother standing with her back turned. When she turns around, Sarah sees her ghostly form and jolts awake, finding herself inside room 8. Nita picks up her flashlight and the girl's ghost appears before her. Nita runs, but no matter where she goes, the ghost keeps appearing in front of her. Meanwhile, Sarah tries to open the door to escape room 8, but it's locked from the outside. She then senses a presence behind her and sees Setsuko's ghost advancing while calling her daughter's name. Sarah screams for Nita, and Nita hears her. She immediately rushes to help. At the same time, we see Fikar praying somewhere else in the hotel. Setsuko moves closer to Sarah. She calls out Ayano's name, and just as she is about to attack Sarah, Nita manages to open the door in time and pull Sarah to safety. Nita asks if she is okay and decides to take her back home. They manage to get out of the hotel and drive away. When they reach home, they climb the stairs, and Sarah seems frozen. Nita helps her lie down on the bed and tells her they have to forget whatever happened. She says this should be the end of it. No more searching. Then she heads back to her own home. The next morning, Sarah wakes to the sound of her alarm. She gets out of bed, and when she opens the door, she realizes it is still night. Confused, she shuts the door and exits through another one to check what's happening. She knocks on other people's doors, but no one answers. She enters another room where she hears doors slamming again and again, growing more violent, until she suddenly jolts awake and switches off her alarm. Realizing it was a dream, she checks again to see if it is truly morning. But then she walks into a classroom where one of her school friends is scraping chalk across a bench. Terrified, she runs into the darkness and suddenly finds herself in another strange place, where two of her school friends in haunting voices tell her to join them at the mall. Sarah runs from them, but they grab her legs and the alarm rings again. The scene cuts to Sarah sitting with Nita. She tells her she can no longer tell what's real and what's a dream. Everything is horrifying. Nita says she should see a doctor. Sarah refuses, saying she doesn't need one. Nita offers to drop her home after her shift. Later that night, while Sarah is sleeping, she becomes restless. She covers herself completely with the blanket, then hears Setsuko's voice calling for her daughter. Sarah lifts the blanket and hears Setsuko crying, so she hides under it again. When she uncovers herself this time, she's back in the hotel room. Terrified, she hides under the blanket again, only to find Setsuko right on top of her. Panicking, she tries to run out, but the door is locked. She escapes through another door and ends up on the terrace, where she sees a woman jump off the roof. Sarah rushes back inside and spots Setsuko's ghost in front of room 8. Terrified, she runs downstairs and sees another ghostly woman stirring a spoon in a cup. Horrified, Sarah hides behind the reception desk while the woman walks toward her, still stirring the spoon. When the sound finally stops, Sarah stands to check, but the stirring noise starts right behind her. She turns in fear to see a faceless woman haunting her. Sarah then finds herself in room 8 again, where she sees Setsuko's ghost behind her once more. She jolts awake, terrified, and switches off her alarm. Overwhelmed, she breaks down and cries at her situation. We then see Sarah's father calling Nita to check on Sarah. He says he tried calling her, but she isn't answering. Nita says she will go meet her. Nita then goes to Sarah's home, and the building guard notices her. She enters Sarah's room and asks where she has been. Sarah says she was here the whole time. Nita explains that Sarah had been missing for 3 days. She had come to her place the first day, but found the room empty. She returned the next day, but Sarah still wasn't there. On the 3rd day, she couldn't reach her at all, so she went to the campus looking for her and eventually contacted Sarah's father. For 3 days, she had no idea what had happened to her. Sarah insists she never left and had been waiting for Nita the entire time. She feels like she is losing her mind, trapped in the same nightmares night after night, always returning to that hotel in her dreams, which is slowly driving her insane. Nita comforts her with a hug while the building guard secretly watches them from outside. The scene cuts to Sarah inside the hotel again, where she sees a woman reading a book, a little girl playing on the stairs, and a woman stirring something in a cup. Then she spots her mother entering another room. Sarah follows her into an empty hall, calling out to her, but Nita wakes her up. Sarah gets up in fear and says she has to go back to that hotel. When Nita asks why, Sarah says there's something she needs to do and begs her to come with her.
You're still watching? Good. Like, comment, and subscribe to Recapss Horror.
We then see them driving to the hotel when suddenly their car breaks down near a graveyard. Nita checks it while Sarah stands inside the graveyard. Nita tells her that the engine is overheated. They'll have to wait 15 minutes. Sarah says, "Why do people say graveyards are the scariest places when they're actually the most peaceful and tranquil?" Nita avoids the topic, saying it's better not to talk about graveyards after everything they've been dealing with. She hopes that once all of this is over, Sarah will finally be able to find some peace. They reach the hotel by night. They enter and ring the reception bell, but no one is there. Sarah asks Nita to wait for Indarto at the front desk while she goes inside. Sarah goes in and hears her mother calling her name. Following the voice, she goes upstairs and sees her mother standing in front of room 8 with her back turned. Meanwhile, when Indarto doesn't arrive, Nita starts searching for Sarah. Sarah, on the other hand, is overjoyed to finally see her mother. While looking for her, Nita reaches a room where she finds Fikar. She tells him that she and Sarah were waiting in the lobby, but no one showed up. Fikar says, "You and your friend aren't supposed to be here." At that moment, Nita notices newspaper clippings stuck to the wall, reports of all the deaths that occurred in the hotel, including the little girl she had been seeing again and again. Nita asks, "What exactly happened here?" Fikar tells her he warned Sarah to stop wearing that bracelet and the other jewelry, but she didn't listen. It's true there are spirits in this hotel, but they're not evil except for Setsuko. Nita confirms. The ghost in room 8? Fikar nods and says many women died in this hotel, and each one of them was wearing a similar ringing jewelry. That ringing is what calls Setsuko. Meanwhile, Sarah says, "Mom?" And when her mother turns, Sarah smiles, relieved to see her. But suddenly, her mother transforms into Setsuko. Nita begs Fikar to take her to room 8. Just then, Indarto arrives and demands to know why she is there. The three of them enter room 8 together, and, in a shocking twist, discover Sarah's dead body placed in a disturbing position. The police later determined that she died a week earlier, leaving Nita devastated. During questioning, Indarto explains that when Sarah and Nita checked into the hotel, everything appeared normal. On the third night, he saw Nita leave the hotel alone. When the police ask what happened to Sarah, he claims he has no idea. When he checked their room, it was already empty. Nita, however, insists that she left the hotel with Sarah that night, and that Sarah was very much alive. But the police confront her with forensic results, proving that Sarah had been dead for nearly a week, making Nita's version impossible. The guard from Sarah's building also testifies that 3 days after Sarah left for the trip with Nita, Nita returned alone. He even recalls peeking into Sarah's room one night and seeing Nita sleeping there by herself. Sarah's father adds that he only learned about his daughter's disappearance because Nita informed him. Fikar also mentions that Nita suddenly showed up at the hotel, claiming she was with Sarah, who had mysteriously gone missing, after which she asked him to take her to room 8. The police ask Fikar, "Do you know why she told you to do that?" Fikar replies, "I don't know." Then the police tell Nita that no one supports her testimony and that no one saw her with Sarah after she left the hotel. Nita insists that everyone is lying. The police say, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you made up an alibi about Sarah's disappearance and pretended to be looking for her. Nita asks, "What for?" He replies, to avoid being accused of murdering Sarah. Nita starts laughing when she hears this. She says everyone has gone insane. She asks if anyone told him about Setsuko. She insists that Setsuko is the one who killed Sarah. The frustrated officer gets up and leaves. It's clear now that Nita is not in her senses. She is mentally disturbed by her friend's death. The scene then cuts to a mental hospital where we see Nita as a patient. Suddenly, she sees Sarah sitting in front of her. Sarah tells her, "Don't be sad." Nita asks, "You're alive?" Sarah nods. Nita says, "Everyone keeps saying I'm crazy. They don't believe that you're still alive. They think I killed you. There's no way I could have killed you. They're the ones who did horrible things to me." Crying, she says, "They are evil." Sarah replies, "But we are not." Just then, the little girl's spirit appears beside Sarah and says, "Mama." Nita suddenly realizes that Sarah is actually dead. At that moment, a nurse drops her keys. When Nita picks them up, she finds herself back in room 8. She begins to hear haunting voices around her. Then Setsuko appears behind her, saying her daughter's name, and the scene cuts to black. In the final scene, we see Aldo visiting Sarah's grave. He says finally, "You can be with your mom. I hope you rest in peace." As the camera pans down, we see Sarah's dead body inside the grave. With that, the movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.